When the name Kamen Rider Gavv was leaked on May 9th, 2024, it wasn't the first time information about the upcoming season of Rider was leaked. Since the start of April, over a month ago, trusted sources said that the unnamed season after Kamen Rider Gavv would have a monster belt with a crank used to eat snacks, allowing the main rider to channel the power of gummies, while the secondary rider uses the power of chocolate. When the trademark dropped, the word Gavu is merely a romanization of the Japanese word for biting, and seemed to verify all the monster belt leaks. Throughout May, even more details and designs leaked, such as the logo, the sword, the collectibles, information about cake and ice cream upgrades, and the actual design. Not just a mock-up, but actual photos from the set of filming, which at the time were thought to be fake because it was so early on for the filming of a Rider season to take place, and there was a lot of fake images floating around at this time. But as we know, this came from episode 6 of the actual season, and that's because Gavv was the first season of Rider to use an accelerated filming schedule, and that's why so much information came out so much earlier than usual. This included the first look at Kamen Rider Valen and descriptions of a pudding tertiary rider with a Splash Driver lookalike all the way back in June. By the end of the month, Toei had officially revealed a poster for Kamen Rider Gavv, advertising his upcoming appearance in the Gavv movie, alongside fun new Kemi cards that also showed more of his gimmicks. Throughout July, even more official info started to trickle out, like a new poster showing the first look at his other snack forms, and a lot of toys leading up to the release of Kamen Rider Gavv's The Future Daybreak movie, where Kamen Rider Gavv didn't just make his first on-screen appearance, but his first on-screen transformation, marking the first cameo of the next Rider actor in a movie in over a decade, but not his actual first appearance. While we got a bunch of official stuff, we also got a ton of new leaks. The upgrade was now called Caking, we got new looks at Valen, and Legend Rider forms leaked but never ended up happening despite 2 official appearances of the Legend Gochizo in media, plus a whole side special. But the infamous big leak was the thumbnails for the first 3 episodes leaked on a Chinese website, which gave a look at the unnamed main rider many weeks before he would appear and be named in the movie. Valen would be officially revealed in August, with his Valen Buster, in anticipation of the press event for the season on the 10th of the month. Here, the rest of the hero cast and stomachs were revealed in the first trailer for the show, which also featured footage from up to episode 12 in nearly every upcoming form for the year due to the early filming schedule. And it was still providing information months in advance, like the rumors of an evil Gavv in the upcoming year. Interestingly, this event did hide the fact that Shoma himself was a stomach, which was also leaked sometime prior to the event, but it was told pretty early on in the show after it started airing on September 1st, 2024. With my reviews, I try to just look at the show itself, not like a lot of the outside stuff. Even though I watch these live, that is bound to affect my opinions, and that is certainly the case this year. It's kind of hard to separate the experience of watching Gavv from Gavv the show itself for many different reasons. Biggest is, of course, like over a year ago, or since it started a year ago, I just feel like from this show, I've spent a lot of time with friends and made a lot of new friends as well. Of course, most importantly, you guys probably know that I've spent most of the whole year watching Gavv with Marcos and Keza over on Keza's channel. We've done reactions to basically, or she's done reactions to basically every episode. I'm in some/most of those videos. Definitely go check those out if you want to have my like live reactions to stuff. I've also been doing my short reviews the whole year if you want to get my thoughts on each individual episode. And then Marcos just put out a video discussing Gavv with a bunch of other friends if you want to get some extra more of my thoughts or some other people's thoughts, since I don't really talk a lot in that one. I'm talking a lot in this one. The other side of that is also just the early filming thing that I've kind of been talking about. When Gavv came out, we learned that they filmed episode 1 all the way back in March. So they were like 6 months ahead filming the episodes. And because of that, like, the leak culture was very different this year. Like, we got a lot of stuff early. Like I mentioned, Bitter Gavv was known to us before the end of the year, which is bizarre. And a lot of the toys were released at retail. And I guess this one is kind of fair because it's a toy show. I feel like it's a right to let your opinions of the toys affect the show that is marketing them. And it was really cool to have stuff like the Rider Gavv belt, the Bake Magnum coming out in the show, and knowing it was a retail release. Apparently that is because they filmed so early in advance, they could plan ahead with stuff like, oh, we're going to have this Cookie Rider, let's start making the toy. Or they haven't like specifically talked about it in depth, but that seems to kind of be the process. And I really can't wait until we get like some in-depth producer interviews and discussions, hearing just what parts of the Rider process changed, having access to everything so much earlier. And you can really feel that at moments. Like the early episodes of Gavv just feel so slick and unique, and yet so Kamen Rider. Now that's also just because it was the early episodes of the show and it was a brand new show. Just because the way the story was progressing, and not like the early episodes, like the first half of the season I really enjoyed. Like just the little things, like Shoma had a secret identity, the fact like the whole thing with Shoma, like he's making his own gimmicks. The gimmicks are like kind of alive, but he's like using them. Like that was a really fun dynamic. The fact the belt was an organ attached to him, like that was really fun. And that makes Honto such a unique element in this, where he gets to become a rider, and just seeing his relationship with Shoma develop, where now he's working with Gavv, then he learns it's Shoma and they work together, but they hide that Shoma's I forget if they say if he's a Granute or just, I think he learns he's a Granute, and then obviously the big reveal he's a stomach. Like I think it was really interesting they made that a 2-part reveal, and that adds a lot of other story elements. And of course Vram, add him into the mix. The show just felt so fun and unique, like even down to like the foot soldiers being extensions of the main villain cast, the main villain cast being Shoma's family members. If we go back to Geats, I remember that one of my favorite parts of that show that I said in my review, and I still stand by it, is the way they divided the story into the different arcs. And then Gotchard went and did that with in a different way, but it was really fun that they did that as well. And then I said in Gotchard, in that review, that I really liked how Gotchard had our consistent 3 main rider trio cast, but we added other riders onto it, guest riders essentially, with Daybreak and Legend. And then Gavv went and did that in a different way, where we do have a very solid trio of main riders, but we have all the Rider Gavvs, and we have Bake, and they're also like guest appearance riders, kind of, sort of, but they're all bad guys. Like we don't have any other hero riders in this show. It was a nice way to make the show not feel bloated, like we have so many riders, so many characters, but it was still a nice, like they still got their toys and sold us a rider belt in different ways. I think it was really fun, so I'm interested to see what thing I praise Gavv for that Zettz is going to copy and use in the upcoming year. Gavv, Val, and Vram are definitely my favorite parts of Kamen Rider Gavv as a season. The 3 of them are honestly probably the best rider trio we've had, or like main rider groups, and some of them haven't been trios for the last few years. Probably the best ones we've had maybe since Build. The fact I can think of them as really fun individual characters that would work in another show, but as a group they're also really impressive, is why I think they're so fantastic. And then like the way they develop over the show, some of that is because of the story progression. I said, like, it's really cool that Shoma and Honto go from being 2 complete strangers to like co-workers with Sachika to being like best friends, really, as Gavv and Valen, despite some of the problems and hardships they've had over the way, because one is a stomach and one is a racist human, and then Vram like is killing people, and then no, he's not, he's a good guy. Like I don't know, it's really cool the way they all change in different ways. Now as individual characters, I do feel like Shoma's the weakest of the 3 of them, and that's not a bad thing. That's not to say he's a bad character, because like I feel like Shoma changes the least, but again, that's not a bad thing. Like I think that's part of the point, because we're throwing Shoma into, it's more like Shoma started in a bottom place. I mean, in a bad place, right? He was living among a family that did not care for him, in a world where he did not fit in. He's thrown into another world where he does not fit in, but is able to find people that care for him now, despite the fact he doesn't fit in, and now he's able to fit in, really, right? Like the world he's living in is not the issue per se, it's the people in it. And I think that's a really nice message, a really nice kind of character trajectory that he went on. It's not that he changed as a person, but he realized he didn't need to change as a person, and he was able to find happiness in a place that he least expected it. And I think that was really sweet. And I'll be completely honest, I don't know, the nature of his character arc did not really set in for me until now. And actually, now I kind of regret what I just said about him not shining as great. Like, he's definitely different in his development from the other two, but actually, I actually do think it's just as powerful as the other two. Changing my opinions here on the fly. Because Hanto, I wasn't going to say Hanto might be my favorite, because I really love the story he goes on. Because he starts off as, like, I mean, he hates the Granute, he's on a mission for revenge, and you can feel that in his fighting scenes. Like, he's beating the shit out of the Granutes, he's just trying to find who killed his mom, he hates all Granutes. The thing with Shoma happens, most things with Shoma happens, and just the way he changes from being, like, it's the gradual development too. It's not like just one change happened to Hanto. He goes from, like, hating all Granutes to not hating all Granutes. He's like, well, Shoma's a Granute, I can't hate Shoma, so, you know, maybe Granutes aren't all bad, or, you know, something like that. And then he meets the shop owner, and that was such a wonderful little story arc for Hanto. Like, it really brought everything full circle, where he doesn't just see the Granutes as even like another species. Like, at the point, he still didn't hate Granutes because of Shoma, but like, you could still feel a difference with him and the other Granutes. And now at this point, like, you know, he spares that guy, like, kidnapped his mother, because he understands he understands him as a person, that he did something he wasn't proud of, and he's trying to make amends for it. And I think that's really great. And it's also really great that some of this development with him learning not to hate the Granutes is coincided with our main rider and our tertiary rider. And I also feel like Rakia could be my favorite rider in the show, because, well, for starters, he's a badass. Like, half his fight scenes are just ore farming with the cranked all the way up as an actual character, as Rakia. I like that he adds a different dynamic to this trio. Another part that links them all together as a trio is that they've all lost people to the Stomach Corporation, so they're just trying to take it down out of revenge, and that's kind of awesome. And he kind of takes it to that extra level. Like, he will do anything, he will stop at nothing to take them down, to avenge his brother. Like, he goes on this vengeance quest. That's kind of what he starts off as, but he goes too far where he's like on the bad guy side. And Shoma and Hanto and Sachika help fill that void that he was trying to fill with a desire for conquest against the Stomachs, and he replaces it with a moment of compassion, or desire for compassion, with saving the human lives, which we definitely develop a lot. He goes from being evil to anti-hero to workable ally to just straight up hero, and it is a lot of fun. Just because he has, like, the coolest fight scenes. I think for now I'm gonna settle on Vram being my favorite of the three, but, you know, maybe tomorrow it'll be Valen. As I'm editing this, maybe it'll be Shoma. Now let's talk about Sachika. So, I like Sachika as well. I think I could easily, everything I just said, I think I could mostly fit her in with that. Like, she's a great character with the other guys. On her own, she's a nice, fun, bubbly character. Like, she adds that fun dynamic with everyone else, where she's not a rider, but she's helping them out. Like, you know, the thing is, it's like very basic ally Kamen Rider stuff, and she does it well. I don't think she does it bad. She's definitely a good ally character. I'm also a hard shipper with her and Rakia. I just hope they get married. You know, that's all I'm really trying to say here. But that's also kind of the problem, because I feel like something's missing with Sachika as a component of the story and in this show. The other three have this fully fleshed out backstory, fully fleshed out motivations, a bunch of character agency, and all of that, Whereas Sachika, it's not like she needs a big scary backstory for why she opened this candy shop, but like, or not candy shop, I guess it's like an everything store. Everything Sachika does is kind of in service of the other three characters. It's not like she ever really had her own kind of storyline or arc outside of like the 1-2-parter. Besides that, everything else she does is with the other characters, and I like the story she gets with the other characters, like Shoma, saving Shoma from going off into the Granite world, Rakia's monster form, when that gets revealed. I like they dedicated a couple episodes to that. I just feel like she didn't really have a lot on her own, and she didn't need to be a writer to do that. I'm dipping my toes into the Sachika writer debate. I'm on the side of, like, she didn't need to be a writer to be a better character, but it is noticeable that she is not as important as the other writers. If they made her a writer, would that have changed? Would she have become more important? Who knows? That's not the show we got. If she became a writer and she got more important as a character, great. I don't care that she became a writer. I'm important that she became, she got more to do as a character. More of her own things to do as a character, I guess. Maybe they made her a writer and she still was in service of the other characters, then I wouldn't be as happy. We could hypothetical size, that's not a word, all day, with if Sachika becoming a writer would have made the show better. For me, I still think they could have, there was room for improvement with her that did not require her to be a writer, but they could have made her a writer as well. Part of that making her a writer or not thing is also because this is the first Kamen Rider season since Build to not have a girl transform into a Kamen Rider. Not just in the show, but also like in any other media. Here's every season that has happened since Build. There are girl writers in all of these seasons. Debate their characters, their story importance, all you want. That's not the important thing here. The important thing is that if a girl watched any of these Kamen Rider seasons, there's at least one girl in all these shows where she can go, she's a Kamen Rider, I could be a Kamen Rider too. Gavv does not have that. A girl could watch a show and be, Sachika's a really cool character, I can be a cool person too. That's great. But also, it's called a Kamen Rider. Like the important, at the very least, you probably want at least one girl in here, a girl could watch and be, that's a cool girl, that's a Kamen Rider. And yeah, we do not have that. I know this is a season that had less writers than usual, but also last year's secondary was a girl. So, I'm not saying Valen needed to be a girl. Maybe Vram could have been a girl. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's something I do need to bring up because that is, it's something that it is a problem I have with the show, that no girl in here is a Kamen Rider. Just kind of sucks. Since, again, it hasn't been great representation sometimes, but at least having a girl slap a belt on and have story importance as a Kamen Rider, I feel like that is an important thing that needs to happen. Does not happen. Stuff like that, it's like little things in Gavv that kind of bring my enjoyment down, because overall I do think this is a good writer show. As I just said, the main four really is an incredible set of characters. But there's a lot of things that kind of just make, like, I don't love this show, if I have to be honest. I understand why so many love this show. Pretty much almost everyone I know thinks this is, like, the greatest thing that's ever happened, and that's awesome. I'm really happy so many people were able to resonate with the show. For me right now, I just think it's good. Like, it's not even on the lower end of good. It's, like, high-end, very good Kamen Rider. Part of what drags it down is also the bad guys. The other, we got great heroes, but honestly, villains are kind of a drag. I think it's interesting they have the main writer's family be the bad guys, but that is the only interesting thing they kind of have going for them. Neil was consistently the only interesting stomach to me, because I love those planar characters, him being in the background. You're always wondering, what the fuck is this guy doing? Because he's giving a guy a belt, but also at the same time, like, he's not always aware of what's happening. Like, he gave Ram a belt, and then Ram turned into a good guy, and he was like, shit, that was not part of my plan. Like, he's a very smart, intelligent character, but he has things that aren't part of his plan, and that's kind of what made him unique and interesting to see in the show. And then he just explodes. They kind of don't give him a satisfying ending. So it's like, oh, okay. I feel like worse than him, though, is Jeep. Because Jeep has had the potential to be the best, most interesting character in this show. Because we set him up, in the first arc, he's kind of just the main bad guy that Shoma's fighting against. And when he loses Shida, it's like, okay, great. Like, Shoma has done something bad, but we'll see, like, what the consequence of this is. And then he disappears. And then he comes back, and then he kind of does nothing for many episodes. And then he becomes a bitter Gavv, and you're like, okay, great, he's gonna lock in. And then he also just does nothing. And I don't just mean like, oh, he lost his first fight, because that's part of the character that they're doing here, like that he's kind of a loser, and despite the fact he's done surgery and like changed his body to try to get his revenge, and he still loses. But then like he does nothing after that. Like I think that's his only fight as bitter Gavv, isn't it? Until the finale, he transforms like at one point in between there, but he doesn't ever get a rematch or something, and it's just like, why? Like, what he doesn't, what are we doing with this character? The other three, like Rango, Grotta, and Shida, I don't feel like they do much of any, like, I mean, Shida dies so early to have an impact later on in the show. Grotta and Rango sit around for most of the episodes until they go onto the field and do something, and then they die. So like I think Grotta's like the biggest offender of that. Like, she got her interesting moments in the arc that she's killed. It just very bizarre to me. Part of what makes, at least in my opinion, from my perspective, why it feels like they don't do anything is the bitter Gavv arc. Now, on the one hand, I think it's really awesome that we have like a whole month or two of episodes that are just a side story, like because the stomachs aren't involved in this. It's just Suga doing his own thing. And I think, like, I like Suga. Suga's my favorite villain. Because he is, I mean, it's mostly the same reasons I like Nilv. Like, he was scheming, he was planning, he was doing things. And, like, his plans worked. Like he was getting progress done. He was a fun counter to the heroes. The fact he starts off as a good guy and then is, like, really a bad guy. Like, we never really trust him to the point where now he's a big bad guy. Like, I think that was such a cool and fun development to have as, like, this side story. It's almost like they took a movie, like a separate Rider movie, and stuck it into the main show. I think that was really fun and unique. Clone Shomas. They could have done more with the fact they were clone Shomas. Like, again, I love this arc, but then, like, I feel like the bitter Gavs are kind of wasted in one sense, because they just turn into cannon fodder. But it's to lead up to Bake, so we get Suga as Bake, and like it was really cool to like build up to the reveal of like a brand new powerful rider system. And then he's defeated in that very same arc, and now he's not a villain in the show anymore. So like, it's cool because it's like, oh, we just had a one-off rider villain. Like, it's not like we kind of dragged that out, but also it's like, maybe we should have dragged out our time with at least what I felt was the most interesting villain. And the stomachs aren't in there at all, so like now we come back to the main story, bring the stomachs back, and now they get to do things again. But, oh, wait, we have the Jardoks here, and they also are like the same thing, except they're more boring, because now it's just the president of the world and his daughter, and they don't have any interesting relationships with the main heroes, any interesting conversations with the main heroes. Like, it's just, I don't know, Bolka's just a guy. He's just really powerful, and we have to defeat him. But, like, at the same time, his arrival in the show is what pushes Rango and Grotta to actually go do things. So I'm like, okay, this was an interesting thing. Like, they only go into the field because they're not in charge anymore. But I feel like they should have gone into the field more earlier. And I don't think the guy that's replacing them is as interesting. But then I don't think Rango was also as interesting in the first place. So, like, this is why I'm kind of mixed on this show. I mean, I like it. I think it's good. But a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I like this. Oh, but I'm not sure I do. The only thing I'm, like, definitive on is the good guys are all really good, and that's why I come out positive here. So, I wasn't super invested on the edge of my seat these last few weeks for Gavv, but I did not hate the show during these episodes, and I think they were good episodes, and overall, of course, it was a good season. I had fun with Gavv. I think it's a good show. But I want to hear what you guys think about Gavv. Again, there's a lot here. that you guys are going to disagree on, I might disagree on. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Make sure you check out my friends' videos like I mentioned, and subscribe to the channel because next week I am going to be reviewing the first episode of Kamen Rider Zettz and all of the future episodes as they come out, and you don't want to miss them. Thank you for watching.